talking about what was going on with the Creoles down in Louisiana, trying to claim something separate and other than black. That was Jelly Roll Morton. But Jelly Roll Morton would also he learned jazz in a whorehouse. He used to look through a peephole when he was 8 years old, and he would play the piano to the rhythm of the stroke that the Tricks was doing in the whorehouse. And that's how Jelly Roll Morton learned jazz. His
Wow.
big inspiration was Buddy Bolden. But Buddy Bolden was dark skinned, Jelly Roll Morton was light skinned. He was one of those brothers that claimed something other than black. So he was one of those guys that wanted to be something other than black, even though he was black. That's who Jelly
Yeah.
Roll Morton was. Jelly Roll Morton was also a pimp. When he left New
Yeah.
Orleans, he got run out of New Orleans, and he brought 6 Tricks to Los Angeles, California, to establish the West Coast jazz scene. And he bought a hotel on 11th and Central. It's still there. For those who are here in LA, if you ever when you get your sound systems worked on the corner of 11th and Central, there's a 2-story building. Jelly Roll Morton brought that style of jazz out here, and he brought 6 Tricks with him, and he would pimp. He would play jazz, and he would also pimp out that same hotel. But he was somebody who prided himself on being other than black, but that also got his ass run up out of New Orleans to where he had to come here to LA. That's one point.
Yeah.
The other point is go back and listen, and I'm going to post these pretty soon. You can listen to Dizzy Gillespie. When their music didn't influence ours influenced theirs. When it comes down to it, when you listen talking about Latin jazz, and I was just thinking about this because I was at LACMA on Saturday. They have Latin jazz at the LA County Museum of Art every Saturday. And every week when they talk about jazz, they never acknowledge Dizzy Gillespie. They never acknowledge Charlie Parker. But Dizzy and Charlie are the fathers of salsa, Latin jazz, and bossa nova. If you listen to Latin jazz, Cuban jazz, before it intersected with bebop, their horn lines were long. It would be bum, 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 bum. When bebop came in, that's what got them into bum, 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 bum. That came after Dizzy Gillespie. This is the first Latin jazz album ever. The first salsa music album ever was Manteca by Dizzy Gillespie. What was happening in New York at the time was bebop had made its way from Kansas City to New York. You had your segregated New York sounds, you had your Latin sounds going on the Latin Street, and you had the Savoy Ballroom, the Cotton Club, and the things going on with black jazz on the other side of town. The Latin people heard Dizzy and Bird and this whole bebop sound that came to New York by way of Kansas City, and they saw what was going on. And once they saw what was going on with the bebop, they changed their whole sound. They didn't keep nothing. Other than certain instruments, the things like the saxophone wasn't even a part of their music. They used the trumpet. They integrated the saxophone after Charlie Parker showed what to do with it, after Lester Young showed what to do with it, after Count Basie showed what to do with it, and Lester out of his band. They integrated these things coming to watch us, and that's according to Tito Puente, and that's according to all of their forefathers. Their forefathers say that their sound changed after intersecting with us. Dizzy will go around and give you a sound and then come back. Bebop, if you listen to Max Roach will tell you bebop was created to be a black sound. The black bebop musicians were tired of white people taking our music. They were taking swing. They took the original Louis Armstrong version of jazz. So when we created bebop, we said that we want to make a music that's so hard to cover, so impossible to reproduce that no one else can touch it. And that's what we did. And to this day, no one has ever touched